Back in June of last year, we received a donation from the Helen Marie Taylor Museum in Waco, Texas, and in the bottom of the items donated, we came across something very interesting. The items were purchased at an auction, and here you have the tag that was on it, and the brown piece that reads, "Piece of Betty Washington's second day dress," and originally a gift of a Mrs. Arnold Fry or Frey. And it included this letter with envelope, (1934), and I'll read the letter to you. "Dear Madam, I am sending you for Kenmore a piece of Betty Washington's second day dress. I think it is suitable for it to be returned to its original home. I spoke of this to Mrs. Bowie of Washington, and she put me in touch with Mrs. Talifero, who is a regent of the District of Columbia chapter of the Kenmore Association. The piece of silk I have had for at least 40 years. It was given to me by my cousin, Mrs. Judy McGuire, the widow of the Reverend, looks like John, Peyton McGuire. I cannot find in my paper here the first name of the mother of the Reverend John Peyton McGuire. She was, it's hard to read some of this, spoken of by the older members of the family as Aunt McGuire. She was the daughter of Robert Lewis and Judith Walker Brown with an E. The former being the, goodness gracious, it's hard to read that right there. The former being the son of Fielding Lewis and Betty Washington, the owner of the dress of which the piece I send is a part. When Mrs. Judy McGuire gave me this piece of silk, I should have asked her to write its history for me, but I was young and thoughtless and did not do so. Mrs. McGuire was an intimate of the Episcopal Home for Ladies in Richmond at the time I knew her. Very sincerely, Louisa Claiborne Finch, Mrs. George Arnold Frick, I'm sorry, not Finch. So now I'm going to very carefully remove these pieces. Alrighty, there we go. So that I can show you the fabric. It is silk, and it is hand embroidered. A little dirty. And very fragile here. You can see where the silk has actually split. So it's about 15 or 16 inches wide and about 8 inches in depth. And lots of delicate embroidery that looks like vines and flowers surround this piece. On the back, you can see that there was a repair. And here's all the satin stitch marking and more of the back of the other embroidery. I have sent photos and information about this piece to the George Washington Foundation and to see if they would like to have it and do the research and see if in fact it did belong to Betty Washington. Just another one of our little hidden treasures at the James Madison Museum in the town of Orange, Virginia.